Benny. Getting shot in the head and buried in a shallow grave is a hell of a way to start your adventure in New Vegas, and the guy in the checkered suit is the one who pulled the trigger. Benny genuinely believes he's one of the good guys, working toward a better future for New Vegas. But the problem is that his plan to take control of the city involves stealing the platinum chip meant for Mr. House, and he's totally willing to murder you to do it. He tracks you down with his Great Khan's goons, ties you up, shoots you in the head, and buries you in the shallow grave, but of course you wake up and eventually find him at the tops and confront him. At first, Benny seems almost apologetic about it. He explains his reasoning, offers to cut you in on his plans, and genuinely seems to respect you for surviving. But this is all false because there's actually no way to side with Benny. He's basically just trying to play you again, and this is what makes people really hate this character. The first time was bad enough, but now he's screwed you over twice. While you're dealing with his henchmen, Benny tries to flee, only to finally get the karma he deserves when Caesar captures him along the way. At the Legion's camp, you can do a favor for Caesar and he'll allow you to kill Benny in multiple fun ways. First, you can just kill him there and then, and he'll pretty much surrender to his fate. Then there's the other option. You offer him in a fight to the death, to which he'll accept gladly. But if you're really hell-bent on revenge, you can just crucify poor Benny so you can watch him call you a sick freak. Now, while these are fun ways to get rid of Benny, everyone agrees that shooting him with his own gun, Maria, feels pretty satisfying. Amata Almodovar. This character is your childhood best friend in Vault 101 and the Overseer's daughter, and she's the person who helps you escape the vault when your father leaves. She risks everything to wake you up, gives you a gun, and creates a distraction so you can get out alive. But when it's time to leave, she refuses to follow you, choosing to stay behind in the vault to try and fix things with her father. For all of that, players should love her. But she ends up on the hate list when you return to Vault 101 in the Trouble on the Homefront quest. After you help resolve the rebellion peacefully and potentially save the entire vault from destroying itself, even making Amata the new Overseer, she thanks you by telling you that you have to leave and can never come back. The dialogue she uses is almost word for word what the Vault 13 Overseer says at the end of the original Fallout. It's meant to be a touching callback, but instead it just feels like a betrayal from someone you thought was your closest friend. Players hate that there's no option to argue with her decision or stay in contact. You just get exiled from your childhood home by the person you saved. Fun fact, if you sabotage the Vault's reactor, Amata can appear in a random encounter where the Enclave kills her. Preston Garvey. He is the last surviving member of the Minutemen in Fallout 4, and he represents everything players hate about Radiant quest systems. You rescue him and his group from raiders in Concord, and he's grateful enough to make you the general of the Minutemen. Which sounds great until you realize that being general apparently means Preston can still boss you around and send you on endless fetch quests. Every single time you talk to him, he's got another settlement that needs your help, and these quests never stop coming. The Radiant quest system means these missions are procedurally generated and infinite, so Preston will literally never run out of settlements that need help. What pushes players over the edge is that there's no way to turn these quests off without avoiding Preston entirely. Some players just stop going to Sanctuary Hills because they're tired of being bombarded with mission markers. And if you romance him, he calls you babe all of a sudden. Preston isn't evil or even mean, he's just exhausting, and that's enough to make him one of the most hated companions in Fallout 4. Colonel Augustus Autumn. He is the primary antagonist of Fallout 3, leading the Enclave's forces in the Capital Wasteland with an iron fist wrapped in the American flag. Born on the Enclave's oil rig off the coast of California, Autumn inherited his father's position after the Chosen One destroyed their West Coast headquarters, eventually rising to command the Department of the Army under President John Henry Eden. What makes Autumn particularly infuriating is how he positions himself as one of the good guys while committing atrocities across the wasteland. He genuinely believes he's fighting for the American people and securing their future, even as his troops gun down civilians at constituency enforcement points for failing genetic compliance screenings. But the most infuriating thing about him is because he killed a fan-favorite character. Your father, James, reactivates Project Purity in an attempt to provide clean water to the wasteland, but Autumn shows up to seize it by force, shooting scientist Janice Kaplinski in cold blood just to prove he's serious. Because he's a hero, James floods the control room with lethal radiation to stop him, sacrificing himself in the process. But to rub salt in your wound, Autumn survives this ordeal by injecting himself with anti-radiation just seconds before the radiation hits them. This broke a lot of people so much that some actually turned off the game collision and tried killing him before he interrogates James. Unfortunately, it's pointless because the plot only moves forward if James actually dies. Later on, he captures you in Vault 87 and personally interrogates you at Raven Rock, demanding the activation code for the purifier while threatening to torture you if you don't comply. Don't worry though, because you get to kill him later on in the game. Jeanie May Crawford. She runs the Dino D-Light Motel in Novak, and on the surface, Jeanie May Crawford seems like your typical small-town businesswoman trying to make an honest living in the Mojave wasteland. But underneath that friendly shopkeeper facade is one of the most despicable people you'll meet in New Vegas. Jeanie May sold Carla Boone, the pregnant wife of Craig Boone, to Caesar's Legion slavers for 1,500 caps. She did this purely because Carla didn't appreciate Novak enough and had the audacity to criticize the town. That was apparently enough justification for Jeanie May to arrange for slavers to abduct a pregnant woman in the middle of the night. After the kidnapping, she spent months lying to Boone's face, telling him his wife just ran off, and painting him as crazy for believing she was taken. The whole time, she kept the bill of sale locked in her motel safe like a trophy, waiting to collect an additional 500 caps on top of what she'd already been paid. But it gets even worse after you learn about Carla's fate. Once you've earned Boone's trust, he finally confesses that he killed Carla out of mercy. After spotting her being auctioned among hundreds of Legionnaires and realizing there was no way to rescue her, Boone, desperate to spare her further suffering, made the agonizing decision to snipe her. And so players hate Jeanie because she's not just evil, she's casually, greedily evil over something as petty as hurt feelings about her town. But punishing her yourself isn't nearly as satisfying as what the game ultimately has in store for her. Through the quest One for My Baby, the player can help Boone find out who sold his wife. Once you discover it's Jeanie May, you can lead her to stand in a certain place outside the motel, and Boone, positioned as a sniper in the dinosaur's mouth, shoots her and blows her head off. While nothing can undo the tragedy of Boone's wife's death, this ending feels grimly appropriate for someone like Jeanie, because even through the warped standards of the capital wasteland, she stands out as one of the most vile and morally reprehensible characters. Myron. This runt is a scientist, working for the Mordino crime family in New Reno, and he's genuinely one of the most irredeemable characters in the entire Fallout series. He claims to have invented Jet, the highly addictive drug that's destroyed countless lives across the wasteland, though he actually just modified an existing pre-war formula to use Brahmin dung. But his supposed genius in chemistry isn't what makes him hated. Myron is racist toward mutants, owns slaves that he treats like objects rather than people, and has a voice that players compare to the Shermanator from American Pie. Worst of all, if you play as a female character with low intelligence, Myron will offer you a drink spiked with drugs. If you fail an endurance check, your character passes out, and when you wake up, the game indicates he had his way with you while you were unconscious. Players despise Myron, because unlike most Fallout characters who exist in shades of gray, he's just unambiguously evil with zero redeeming qualities. The only satisfying thing about him is that according to the ending slides, he canonically gets stabbed to death by a junkie addicted to the very drug he created. Even the game itself seems to hate him. Oliver Swanick. This man is a powder ganger who won what might be the worst lottery in history, and somehow that makes him one of the most annoying people in the Mojave. When Caesar's Legion captured the town of Nipton, they held a lottery where tickets determined whether you'd be crucified, burned alive, enslaved, or decapitated. Swanick won first prize, which meant he got to walk away completely unharmed. The problem is that from the moment you meet him, he will not shut up about it. He runs up to you screaming, "Yeah, who won the lottery? That's right, I did," with the most grating, obnoxious voice imaginable. He's so insufferably excited about surviving, while hundreds of others died horribly, that even other survivors call him an asshole. The game seems to understand how irritating he is because he almost always runs straight into a nest of rad scorpions or jackal gang members and gets himself killed. Most players take pleasure in killing him seconds later after a brief interaction. Joanne Lynette. Joanne Lynette runs Vault City in Fallout 2, and she represents everything wrong with elitist, isolationist thinking. She's a stern woman who genuinely believes that Vault City citizens are genetically superior to everyone else in the wasteland. Lynette uses this belief to justify a near-feudal class system where outsiders are treated as second-class citizens or outright slaves. Players hate Lynette because she's incredibly easy to offend, and upsetting her gets you permanently banned from Vault City, cutting off multiple important quests. Even asking basic questions about her policies or suggesting that Vault City cooperate with neighboring Gecko can result in exile. She'll revoke your citizenship and throw you out, even if you've proven yourself useful to the city. She's proof that sometimes the most hated characters aren't evil, they're just insufferably self-righteous. Marcy Long. This woman is one of the settlers you rescue in Concord, along with Preston Garvey, and she is aggressively unpleasant from the moment you meet her. Every single word out of her mouth is either outright hostile or passive-aggressive at best. She complains constantly, criticizes everything you do, and makes it clear that she doesn't want your help even though you just saved her life. The frustrating thing's that Marcy actually has legitimate reasons to be traumatized. Her settlement at Quincy was destroyed by gunners, her son Kyle was killed, and she's been on the run from ghouls and raiders while dealing with zero time to process that grief. But understanding her trauma doesn't make her any less exhausting to be around. She refuses to settle in Sanctuary at first, but offers no alternatives. And once she does settle there, she never stops complaining. You can build an entire thriving settlement with clean water, electricity, defenses, and shops, and the best she can manage is, "I'll hand it to you, this place isn't awful." The worst part is that Bethesda made her an essential NPC, meaning you can't kill her no matter how much you want to. Fantastic. The self-proclaimed lead scientist at the Helios 1 solar power plant is spectacularly, almost impressively, incompetent. Fantastic somehow talked his way into this position by telling NCR recruiters that he had a theoretical degree in physics, and they hired him anyway. In reality, Fantastic has absolutely no idea what he's doing. He openly admits to just randomly inserting things into the plant's mainframe to see what happens, treating a critical energy facility like a toddler playing with buttons. Even the game calls him an idiot. But here's the thing. Players kind of love to hate Fantastic because he's so absurdly confident despite being completely useless. If you complete the Helios 1 quest in the NCR's favor, Fantastic somehow gets promoted to Hoover Dam, where he's supposedly in charge of dam overflow, underflow, and shrinking the dam when needed. The NCR wisely routes all his decisions through the actual chief engineer who knows what he's doing. If you deploy the Archimedes weapon against the NCR, Fantastic survives and joins the Legion, claiming they begged to have him on board. He's annoying, sexist, and dangerously incompetent, but he's such a ridiculous character that he ends up being more funny than genuinely hateable. Which Fallout character do you hate so much you'd quick save just to kill them twice? Let me know in the comments. And hey, if you've been watching from the beginning, seriously, thank you for staying. You're a real one.